Hello YouTube, I am the Planet Rocks, and today we're going to be going through the next part of Franz's route. Just last time was when we met the man for the first time out on the balcony, and yeah, here we begin. I hastily returned inside my own chamber, slamming the balcony doors shut and locking them, pulling the curtains over the glass. The last thing I want is to wake up with that crazy, handsy demon of a man staring in at me. My mind feels a little numb as I undress and throw my clothes to one side, crawling into the bed and curling up under the covers. I'd think that Franz was lying to me just for sport, but I can't really fathom why he'd want to do that to someone he doesn't even know. I could probably shake his words off under normal circumstances, but there've been a couple of things bothering me since earlier. That whispering I heard before. For some reason, the fact that I couldn't find the source of it made me feel strangely nervous. Then there's the fact that Hazel slipped off so suddenly. It seems strange that she wouldn't try to coax me to come with her inside the ballroom, unless she wanted to purposefully evade me. But why?
And now I'm neighbors with some perverted foreigner.
It's hardly believable, but if he was really telling the truth, then am I actually in danger? But why? Father would have surely known who the other guests could be before he sent me here. In that case, was there a reason why he made me attend alone? Is this a sink-or-swim coming-of-age ritual for me? I pull my head from under the covers and gaze glumly up at the ceiling. As much as I hate to admit it, I'd rather risk embarrassing myself by taking Franz's words seriously instead of ignoring him and ending up a bloody splatter. Swallowing, I slip out from the bed to make sure my room's door is locked, pressing my ear to the wood just to see if anyone's lurking outside. But I don't hear anything except the fast beating of my own heart. I give up and return to the plush mattress, crawling back under the sheets.
We're going to have a long talk about this, Father.
When I make it back home, and I will make it back home, I'll give him a real piece of my mind. Until then, I'll make sure any would-be assassins learn to fear the name of Rivian Varison. What is that infernal noise?
Sir? Sir, are you awake?
I bolt upright, rubbing at my eyes hastily. That's right. I'm trapped in this castle of death for a so-called celebration. But more importantly, is that whose voice I think it is? I grab a pillow from the bed and hold it in front of my legs for modesty's sake, then storm over to the door to unlock and fling it open.
Sir, I apologize for...
You damned sorry excuse for a butler, or manservant, or whatever the hell you are. You shoved that little girl onto me last night, and she ran off before I could do anything. But I doubt your evil heart gives a damn if she gets 30 lashes for going places she's not supposed to.
My accusation makes Silas blink, his expression more curious than the sheepish one I was expecting.
But, sir, the girl was safe and sound back in the kitchens by the time her mother returned. Perhaps she merely wanted a brief glimpse of the splendor, and then went back?
Is that really where she went? Well, it's not like it's my business. Still, any first-time nanny would feel bad about losing track of their charge. Damn it. I'm a man of noble blood, not a nanny.
Well, that's fine then, I suppose. Sorry for yelling at you.
Silas offers me a sly smile, shaking his head with a gentle wave of his hand.
There is no need to apologize, sir. I stopped by just to inform you that the festival has started. The first day is often the best, they say, and I would not wish for you to miss out. However, I humbly recommend that you attend the event in more than a pillow. The lady should surely appreciate it, but it would be most cold.
I don't need you to tell me that, you know. Go on, go and attend to your butler duties.
I shoo him off with my non-pillow holding hand, my face burning a little as I slam the door and retreat back into my room.
Damn right the ladies would appreciate it. Probably that creepy fellow from last night too.
Tossing the pillow aside, I set about dressing myself, muttering all the while. Well, even if there is some kind of foreign death warrant on my head, I'm fairly sure I'll be quite safe in broad daylight. But what if that's what they want me to think? What if broad daylight is actually when I'm in the most danger? An assassin could blend into the crowd easily. Now, perhaps I'm just getting a little paranoid. I just have to become one with my xenophobia and stay away from anyone with an accent or unusual features. That should do the trick. Wow.
But chocolates from Provia are just so superb, and the cakes from the Cotarian capital are to die for.
Also, foreigners tend to have a lot more interesting stories to tell. Bah, I'm hopeless. I'm sorry, I can't be a raving nationalist like you, Father. After I finish getting ready, I head back over to the door and slip out into the hallway. Was that my stomach? Oh, right. I suppose I haven't eaten since my snack during the carriage ride last evening. Well, I'm sure they have food in the festival stalls. I wind my way through the corridors and trot down the stairs, returning to the main hall while keeping my eyes peeled for any would-be attackers. It seems, though, like most of the guests have already gone outside, although a few are still milling about in this ridiculously huge foyer. I stay on careful alert for that demonic woman, too, whose threat rivals any assassin. As I saunter towards the door, I notice a man with long dark hair leaning by the grand entrance, intently reading a long scroll. As in very intently. He looks about as focused on that paper as a starving dog with a bone. My curiosity wins over my refined upbringing, and I quietly approach him, behind him, to try and sneak a glimpse of whatever's on the scroll. Before I can so much as catch a word, he abruptly spins to face me. A pair of hawk-like eyes behind angular glasses flick down to bare holes through my face.
I was just going to pick some lint off your shoulder, you see.
Is that so?
I don't think I've been given such an icy glare since I told my mother she looked fat in one of her dresses.
Yes, headed out to the festival and all that. Just spotted something on that coat of yours. Didn't want to embarrass you.
My, How remarkably thoughtful you are. I don't suppose you're one of the servants trying to masquerade as a nobleman?
What, you mean you don't recognize me?
He rolls his eyes at me, pushing up the bridge of his glasses with a light snort.
I am a busy man. Why would I bother learning the name of someone who goes around picking lint off of people?
I wince. This fellow really doesn't pull his punches. I guess I've been spoiled from all this random attention I've been getting. There's no way everyone would know my face just because I've been seen around with my old man.
I'm Rivian. Varison, that is.
The only response I get is an impassive stare.
I said I'm, oh for hell's sake, the son of the old military strategist.
Ah, that Varison.
At my clarification, his eyes finally light up in recognition. Is there really more than one Varison? He's definitely mocking me.
Well, why didn't you say so sooner? I would have let you pick lint off of me to your heart's content.
Can you stop with the lint business? I was fibbing, if you must know.
Really? You could have fooled me. If I was 5 years old, perhaps. However, regardless of how pitiful a liar you may be, His Majesty informed me to thank you for your attendance at the festivities, and sends your father his regards.
His Majesty? Wait, the king told you that directly?
Of course. You seem surprised that the Grand Inquisitor would have contact with his employer.
I blink. What is the Inquisitor, the head of domestic investigations, doing at a royal celebration?
I know what your unsophisticated mind is thinking. Why is the head of domestic investigations at a royal celebration? Well, my occupation requires me to be present at such important events.
Well, I can see how he got his job. Now that I think about it, though, haven't I heard of this man before? What was his name again? We're not going down his route, so we can't recall it. Damn, I can't remember it for the life of me. Something that started with an L, I think. He gives me a vitriolic look when I remain awkwardly silent, as if I'd committed some unspeakable crime by not committing his name to memory.
I am called Linnaeus. Perhaps you should write it down a few times so you don't forget. Assuming you are literate, that is.
Gods, talk about unpleasant. Did snooping over his shoulder really warrant this kind of treatment? Clearly the king tolerates him for qualities other than his horrible personality.
Just out of curiosity, did His Majesty tell you to thank every guest like that, or just me?
His nose wrinkles disparagingly at my question, upper lip curling, no doubt in preparation to offer some kind of caustic response.
Many guests are given honorific greetings, but for some unfathomable reason he asked me specifically to address you.
He sounds slightly confused, which is admittedly understandable.
I see.
For some reason, a strange sense of apprehension flits over me. The king singled out the Grand Inquisitor, one of his highest-ranking men, to talk to me. Beyond that, he investigates domestic affairs. That means if something fishy is going on related to the king or his court, this ponytailed hellbeast is on the hunt. I hope he's not been assigned to keep an eye on me or something. This is one man who I would rather not get on the bad side of.
Incidentally, do you know how many foreign guests the king invited to this extravagant affair?
Linnaeus raises his eyebrows at my question, then narrows his hawk-like gaze at me.
There are no more than 6, with 4 of those being ambassadors. All of them equally dislikable, if you ask me.
Do you find anyone likable, except for your reflection?
Perhaps I'd like you, if you were more like your father and less of a spoiled child.
I'm starting to wonder what the sentence is for punching the Grand Inquisitor.
Ah, your primitive mind is contemplating violence, is it not? I advise you not to raise a hand against me. Not even the Varison name will save you from the consequences.
With a defeated growl, I turn to the doors with intent to head off before I end up getting thrown another insult.
Oh, before you head off to cause more trouble.
I begrudgingly cast a glance over my shoulder to see an annoyed look on the Inquisitor's face.
If you see that ridiculous boy, Arden, is it? Tell him he needs to act like a proper guardsman, or I'll make sure he's relieved of his post.
You know Arden? Lovely, what on earth did you do now?
Linnaeus waves his hand dismissively at me, pulling back out the scroll he'd tucked away when he noticed my presence earlier.
Ask him yourself. I have no further time to entertain your dull questioning.
Very well. I'd pull up a chair for you before I left, but sitting down would surely drive the stick buried in your rectum to an uncomfortable death. Do have a good morning.
I can feel a murderous glare trained on my back as I hastily make my way out of the castle doors, not wanting to suffer the inevitable retaliation that occur if I stuck around. But as the cool breeze hits my face and I enter into the lavish grounds outside, I breathe a sigh of relief. With luck, I'll never have to run into that unpleasant man again. More importantly, I can see the bustling festival stalls ahead, and excitement bubbles inside me as I follow the stream of guests heading towards them. I don't think I've ever been to a proper festival. Maybe I'll have a chance to get some fun souvenirs and actually relax a little. Perhaps this celebration won't be so bad after all. What a sight indeed. For a market set up just for this occasion, I find myself awed by the beauty and size of it. Rows upon rows of vendors, probably common folk dressed up in fancier clothes by His Majesty's orders, sing and cajole to sell their wares. The air is rich with scents of spices, sweets, and perfumes, all of them competing for dominance. I hope I don't go into a sneezing fit. Raising a hand above my eyes to shield them from the sun, I scan the crowds for Arden as I walk. I can't seem to spot his overeager self anywhere, though. Maybe he's just further along.
Let's see. 2 of those, 1 of those, maybe 3 of those.
Stopping at an exotic cart that sells food from a place I can't pronounce, I pick an array of things to serve as my breakfast. I stuff my arms with a variety of treats and munch thoughtfully while meandering along with the crowd.
The finest silks from ports all over the world. Come, drape yourself in the shawl of a queen.
There's Cantian herbs and medicines to make the sickly into the strong. Or perhaps the opposite to your foes.
Buy the best vintage of our Royal Highness's favourite wine, pressed from the kingdom's best grapes.
Ah, a domestic product among all these imported ones. Who really cares if it's the king's favorite wine, though? Wine's only good for getting drunk. It could taste like boiled boots as long as it gets the job done. As I head through the street, someone suddenly bumps against my side.
Oh, excuse me.
A delicate female voice comes from beside me, and I quickly turn to see a pretty girl curtsying apologetically.
I beg your pardon, sir. It's very hard walking in these shoes all day, and I'm starting to get a bit wobbly.
I glance down at her shoes. Ouch, those heels are razor thin and obscenely tall. Poor woman.
I should be the one to apologize. I suppose I'm rather spoiled, getting to plod around in these comfy boots all day.
A happy grin spreads on the lady's lips at my remark. I can tell from her fine clothes and mannerisms that she's one of the king's guests, not someone here to sell wares.
I'll keep about an eye on where I'm going next time. Oh, by the way, I'm looking for someone. I wonder if you might have seen him.
What a twist of fate. I'm looking for someone too. What's yours look like?
Let's see, he's an older gentleman with a red coat and a rather round nose and a little on the larger side.
I pause thoughtfully, racking my mind for a similar image to what she's describing. I come up with a blank, however, and regretfully shake my head.
I'm afraid not. I'll tell him you were looking for him if I see someone with such a physique, though.
Would you? I'd be most grateful. Please tell him Celeste wants to speak with him.
Celeste, is it? If you see an ungraceful oaf with... Oh, speak of the devil.
Before I can even finish my flattering description of Arden, I spot him eagerly pushing through the crowd towards me, waving a hand over his head.
Oh, is he your friend? He's quite handsome.
She giggles coyly, giving Arden quite the intense one-over as he approaches us, out of breath.
Rivian! I knew you'd come out of hiding sooner or later.
He doesn't even seem to notice Celeste at first, but when I pointedly nudge my chin slightly in her direction, Arden glances down towards the girl.
Well, please excuse me. I need to go find Papa before I get swindled by too many merchants. Perhaps I'll...
Despite addressing her words to me, she's clearly eyeing Arden as she drops in another cute curtsy, gracefully slipping back into the crowd.
Papa, huh? Wonder if she means her real father, or a thirsty widower she's ensnared between her thighs.
Cute girl. Are you two friends?
We literally just met about 2 minutes ago, Arden. I was actually looking for you, though.
I trail off, figuring it's probably not the best idea to add as a meat shield against my any assassins. Unsurprisingly, Arden's eyes light up. If I didn't bear a grudge against him, I'd find it rather cute.
Look, we're blocking traffic. Come on.
I push his shoulder forward with one hand, steering him along as we stroll forward past the stalls.
Your face looks a little strained, Riv. Is something bothering you? Did you buy spoiled food off one of the merchants by accident?
I hesitate, casting an uncertain glance over at Arden's curious expression. Franz's words from last night are still lurking in the back of my mind, and sharing them with someone would certainly make me feel a little more at ease. However, it's been 4 years since I last saw Arden. For all I know, he could have gotten even worse at keeping his mouth shut than he already was.
No, don't worry about it. There was something I did want to ask you, though. What did you do to upset the Grand Inquisitor? I don't think I've ever met a more unpleasant man in my life.
At that, Arden's eyes widen, his expression suddenly growing sheepish. Uh-oh.
Oh, him? He's even worse than you are, Riv. I thought he was going to chop my head off just for leaving my room at night.
What? You mean guests aren't allowed to leave their rooms?
No, they are. It's just... Well, I was just nosying around places I wasn't supposed to, probably.
Well, if that's not an Arden-esque thing to do, I don't know what is. He looks a little uncomfortable, though. I wonder what kind of place Linnaeus found him in.
You don't act anything like how a royal guard ought to, you know. Just because you're off duty for a week doesn't mean you can stir up mischief as you please.
I know that. I'm older than you, Riv. You can't scold me like a kid.
Oh, how wrong you are.
The bright morning turns into a warm afternoon as we explore the market, purchasing no small amount of food and curious trinkets. Before I know it, I'm carrying around a bag made from exotic leather with an assortment of colognes, books, and fine souvenirs tucked inside. Of course, I wind up convincing Arden to carry the bag. He needs to put the muscles he's built from all that training to good use, after all. He seems exhilarated that we're spending time together like we used to, but the only reason I'm enduring his company is so that I don't make myself an easy target. I will admit it does bring back memories of happier times, but those times are long gone, and now I'm caught up in some political game that's far more important than drowning myself in nostalgia.
Look, Riv! Snake Charmer! Damn! Wish I had that kind of skill.
Arden's excited voice beside me directs my attention to a man seated on a carpet nearby, surrounded by a thick circle of murmuring admirers.
Let's go watch him. I bet your legs are getting sore from all this walking anyway.
Excuse me. Just because I'm not a royal guardsman doesn't mean I'm out of shape.
Despite my protests, I let Arden tug me over to the snake charmer, and we push our way into the audience to get a better view. The sound of the strange flute-like instrument he's playing seems to make the serpent before him sway and shift, its leathery body rising to a somewhat disconcerting height. I watch for a little while, but boredom soon overcomes me, and I turn to search for Arden and drag him off.
Arden?
It seems you're still a little careless about leaving your back exposed.
Someone suddenly presses against me from behind, and a low chuckle echoes in my ear. A familiar, sensual voice. The rough grasp of large hands on my shoulders. This is...
What the hell are you doing here? Stalking more victims?
Oh, that's rather cold, isn't it? I've been keeping an eye on you. Let's just say that much.
Those words alone are more than a little unnerving. Who is this man?
If you want a few more details, you'll have to leave your friend behind for a few moments. But the choice is yours, little kitten.
After whispering those warm words against my ears, he steps back, and I quickly turn to see him beckoning me with a curled finger. Well, I'm following Franz. As much as I loathe the idea of scampering after Franz like the lost kitten he seems to think of me as, I want some answers from him. Silently apologizing to Arden in my head, I weave through the crowd and follow the tall figure, who waits for me to catch up before continuing on.
Good. I'm glad you're being sensible. Besides, you don't really enjoy that boring guards company, do you?
You know about Arden too? He must be building quite an unflattering reputation for himself.
The corners of Franz's lips curl slightly upwards, his thumbs hooked casually into his pockets as we stroll towards a less populated part of the festival.
His reputation is not as poor as you might think. He did get into the Royal Guard, an elite unit, through remarkably hard work, and attracted quite a bit of attention. I don't know him personally, of course. I simply keep abreast of pertinent information.
I watch his movements from the corner of my eye as he speaks, trying to discern anything that might reveal information about where he's from or his occupation. He's certainly tall and well-built enough to be a fighter of some kind, but his elegant speech and smooth movements lead me to believe he's related to noble politics somehow.
Regardless, it seems like you've been heeding my warning. I tried your bedroom door last night just to make sure it was locked.
What? I should report you to the guards, you know. Next thing, you'll be smashing through the balcony doors.
Come now. Do you really want to act so callously against one of the few people who can keep you safe? I promise, I have your best interests at heart.
I shoot him a disgruntled look as we come to a halt behind the last festival stall on the street, where the chattering of the bustling crowd sounds distant.
You've been spouting all this nonsense and acting like some grand benefactor, but I don't have any reason to believe a word of what you say. Isn't it a little ironic that the most disturbing encounter I've had so far has been with you? No one's pulled a knife on me or given me any reason to mistrust them. Except you.
My accusation seems to bounce off Franz, who folds his arms impassively over his chest and watches me with a tilted head. A hint of a smirk stays on his face, which can surely only mean bad things.
I guess it'd be rather hypocritical for me to tell you to be on your guard around others, but not give you a reason to trust me. A little kitten learns fast.
Can you cease and desist with this kitten nonsense? It might work on some shy maiden, but I assure you I'm nothing of the sort.
Really? I could have sworn I felt your heart pounding like a little war drum when I had you pinned in my arms last night. However, returning to the subject at hand, there are a number of reasons I could give as to why I want to help you, but I doubt you'd believe any of them at this point. But if you want proof as to the fact that this celebration and its guests are more than they seem, I believe the occurrence I spoke of earlier will happen no later than tonight.
The occurrence? Could you be any more vague?
Franz shrugs lightly, running a hand through his hair.
You've played chess before, haven't you? You see the opponent's pieces moving, but a skilled player often masks what they're planning. The best you can do is stay alert.
The keen light in his eyes suggests that he definitely knows more than he's letting on. Damn it. What I wouldn't give to be a cold, calculating bastard like you right now, Father. I'd see through him in a second.
Then I'll reserve judgment until I see for myself what's afoot. Afterwards, I'll decide if you're a delusional pervert or just an exceptionally well-informed one.
As expected of Lord Verison's son. I trust we'll encounter each other tonight, then.
He steps closer, leaning in to press a finger under my chin and gaze down at me with those uncomfortably discerning eyes.
Until then, stay on your toes. The most painful attacks come from the most unexpected of places.
I glower up at Franz silently in reply, which only serves to elicit a low laugh from him as he steps past me.
Ah, those eyes send sweet shivers down my spine. Well, good afternoon, my little lord.
He disappears around the edge of the stall, presumably returning to the street, and I sigh quietly to myself as his footsteps fade. I don't know why, but I feel like I wasn't the victor in that conversation, even though I wasn't even aware we were in a contest. Regardless of his intentions, I don't think I'll ever get used to that man's demeanor. It's like dealing with a male escort or something. Sulking a little to myself, I head back to the street, returning in the direction Franz and I had come from. When I return to the Snake Charmer's circle of admirers, I catch Arden wandering around searching for me, and tell him I went off to relieve myself in some bushes. He gives me a somewhat dubious look at my excuse, but doesn't question it. Well, it's none of his business anyway. He'd probably pop a vein if I told him too much about Franz. Okay, I think I'm going to call it a day right here. So next time we're probably going to see whatever it is that Franz talking about. It's supposed to occur later tonight in this game, so we'll probably get to see that next time. Thank you so much for joining me. I am the Planet Rocks. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified when I put out another video, and hit the like button. And again, thank you so much. Oh, and the next video on this will be coming out next week. Again, thank you.